Thank you. I'll open up this meeting of the planning board for the town of Maynard. Today's date is Tuesday, June 13th, 2023, and the time is 7:02 p.m. Bill, can we go to item number 3 for the 7 to 9 Taft Avenue? This is the A&R.
Yes,
Can you check to see if we have the applicant representatives here?
we do. Kevin, can you hear us? You're on mute.
Yes, I can. Let me put on the video real quick.
Okay. Can you hear that okay, or is it too low? Speaker.
Thank you, Kevin. Can you just introduce yourself, and then I'm going to turn it over to Bill for some comments.
Sure, absolutely. My name is Kevin Conover. I'm from David Ross Associates out of Harvard, and we're representing property located on the easterly side of Taft Avenue, creating a parcel of land to be conveyed out of a property owned by Stephen Kimmel, and is going to be conveyed to an adjoining parcel of land to form one undivided lot. Lot 1 will conform to the frontage and area requirements of the town of Maynard, and we're looking for A&R endorsement this evening.
Thanks, Kevin. Bill, we haven't had a lot of A&Rs. Can you just give a quick preview of what our role is on this A&R for the board?
Yeah, first, this is the purpose of an approval not required. Is that the board finds that it is consistent with the criteria for an A&R, meaning that it doesn't require subdivision approval. It is simply a ministerial process. So you're looking for 3 basic things on this. We're looking to make sure that the lots shown are on a way, which in this case are they're both front Taft Avenue, so that's not an issue here. Secondly, we want to make sure that vital access exists. Again, this is on a public road. And then the lots meet the minimum frontage requirements of the Maynard zoning bylaws. Now, in this case, the second lot, where they're conveying parcel A to, does not meet the frontage, and by conveying it, it makes it consistent. So it's improving the situation, and I think that the whole review of this is creating an entirely conforming lot, and the A&R seems appropriate for a finding that it meets the criteria if the board so pleases.
Thanks, Bill. Kevin, do you have a presentation or something to show for the record? This is being recorded. Sorry, I need to pause. For my opening remarks, I should have made my opening statement, which is that this meeting is being recorded. And it's being held in a hybrid format, which means that people can participate both here locally at Town Hall or through the Zoom app online. And all board members here tonight are present. Sorry, Kevin. Do you have a presentation for us?
Excuse me, I didn't hear that. What was that?
Bill, you want to ask it again?
Do you have any presentation you want to make, or do you want me to bring up the A&R? Would the board like that? If I brought up the
Yeah, I do not have anything. If you can bring that up, that'd be helpful.
Sure, I'll bring it up, and then I'll share the screen. Ooh, oh, let's see. Wait a minute here. Can you see that, Kevin, now? Or not?
I can't see it, but I do have the plan in front of me, so
Yeah,
I
I'm
can.
sharing the screen here. Let me just get the screen share. Yeah. Now you should be able to see it.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Board, can you all see that?
Yes, we can. Kevin, you want to just explain what the A&R here is?
Absolutely. Like Bill explained, what we're proposing tonight is we're creating a parcel of land to be conveyed from one owner to the adjacent owner. We're notating on the plan that parcel A is not a building lot, but is combined to and annexed with the adjoining land of Cornelius and Kristen Kimmel, Canty and Kimmel. Obviously, you can see by the information depicted on the plan, the Kimmel's driveways and the Canty's driveway was located on the adjacent property. So this parcel creation is an attempt to put their driveway on their own property. The remaining lot 1 conforms to the frontage and area requirements as required in that district, which is 10,000 square feet and 100 feet of frontage. It has in excess of those 2 requirements. Parcel A being conveyed to the Cantys and the Kimmels will result in a lot just north of 25,000 square feet. So we're not creating any nonconformities. It's just a creation of a parcel of land, and this A&R plan is a mechanism to have that conveyance done, deeds drawn up and recorded at the registry of deeds.
Thank you, Kevin. I'll turn it over to the board for any questions or comments. Yes, Jim?
I have a question. The parcel A that is being created is going to be a 40-foot wide right of way. Who owns the land that it is going to connect to?
Okay, so that right of way that's shown on the plan was depicted on a plan that was done, I think, back in the 1920s. So that right of way still exists. Who has rights over that? I'm not 100% certain. But again, parcel A is kind of looks like a triangular shaped parcel. So that right of way exists. It has always existed. It existed prior to this plan being prepared. And we're just depicting it as an informational purposes because it's described in the deeds and referenced in the older plans.
I don't have any problem with the creation of it, but I'm just requesting or asking who owns the land that it connects to in the back.
So Kevin, the question is, who is the property owner in the backside of parcel A on the very top?
Yeah, I believe that's the Colemans. I think they have that property behind where parcel A is.
Do we know how big it is? Because obviously it's going to be a right of way connecting, probably going to be a street into a property that's going to be developed. I'm just wondering how large that property is and how many lots that might be
You're talking about here, Jim?
back here.
Yeah, okay.
Well, like I said, this plan didn't create that right of way. That right of way has been in existence for a long time.
I'm not questioning the fact that it is an existing right of way. I'm just really asking who owns the land in the back and how many lots
I can pull it up.
might be looking at to consider as a proposed subdivision in the future.
Would you like me to pull it up?
Yeah, Bill, just pull up an overhead. In the
Okay.
meantime, Jim, do you have other questions or comments?
No, that's the only question I have.
Okay.
Just in relation to that, I did a quick drive-by earlier because I hadn't been in the neighborhood. And I mean, the property on the other side is accessed by another street, so it's not like the right of way, presumably, I would imagine, was designed before the circle on the other, whatever the next street down is, not Taft, but the next one, that the Coleman's property must be off of. Maybe that right of way was put in before that, or maybe the right of way is just to function to help with the driveway situation. But presumably, nobody's going to be using that right of way except the Canty, Kimmels, and, you know, the adjacent neighbors on Taft, so.
Oh, so you're visiting it now, right there.
I did, yes.
All right, I'll pull it up and then we can look at it.
And any other questions or comments? Bill, good.
Doesn't make a difference if it does connect to anything.
Bob, any questions, comments? Kevin, for the record, can you just state for me what the new frontage number will be? You said it was over 100, but just for the record, can you tell me what it is?
Sure, it's 102.16 feet, and that's shown on the plan. So lot 1 will have a little north of 20,000 square feet and 102 feet to 102.16 feet of frontage on Taft Ave.
And the other property, that now will. Does that also need to maintain 100-foot frontage?
It doesn't need to maintain it, but it does have in excess of 100 feet of frontage. So that property that's shown as the Cantys and the Kimmels, that's a pre-existing non-conforming lot. It was created a long time ago, so it had existed and has been conveyed using the previous deeds. We're actually making it more non-conforming by adding the additional frontage to it. So currently it has a little over 81 feet of frontage, and we're conveying 35 feet of frontage to it, which would put it in excess of 100. So we're actually eliminating the non-conforming nature of that lot as well.
Thank you.
Jim, the access to these parcels is all off of Allen.
I'm sorry.
The access to these parcels behind the subject property, they're all off of Allen. There's the frontage here.
Okay, so is it reasonable to assume that this will not be considered a street in the future? I'm just looking to see what's gonna happen to it.
I can't see how it would, but yeah, I mean, this is going up to the properties, both have frontage and access here. So no, I can't see any.
Okay, that's my question.
Okay, and if I turn to, it looks like the internal review. Town engineer, building commissioner, police department, property assessor, fire department have reviewed and do not have any comments or objections to this.
So for the record,
Yeah.
first, I don't have any either.
Oh,
I'm just hoping for in the future.
I was just moving on, Jim. I wasn't commenting on
I'm
you.
sorry.
I was, just for the record, I was commenting out loud that, town staff has no comments with that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jim.
That's all right. I'm just,
All right, I'll take a motion on this if anyone wants to make a motion.
I'll make a motion that the subject plan for 7 to 9 Taft Avenue does not constitute a subdivision
I'll second that.
and is therefore entitled to A&R endorsement. Right.
Consider it seconded.
Okay, that's been seconded by Jim. Any further discussion? All in favor by hand? That's 5-0, Bill, in favor of the motion.
Is the board okay with the exception, Jim? Is the board okay if I use your stamps on the A&R?
Yes.
Billy, okay?
Yep.
Okay, Jim, I'll let you sign it in person and their bill will stamp it.
Kevin, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Kevin.
No, thank you very much. Have a great evening. And so we'll be by and pick up the plan at the town hall tomorrow. Is that?
Yeah, that's fine. Well, the only thing I need will be when you get it back to the office, I'll give you the Mylar back. I'll keep the other copies.
Yep.
Is that what you want, or do you want one of the paper copies?
I just need the original.
Well, they're all gonna be signed,
Okay.
so
All
I
right.
can give you the Mylar.
Yeah, I need the
Okay.
Mylar and I make a reproducible of it and I'll send it back to you signed if that's okay.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna have it signed tonight with I'll take care of that. When you pick it up, it'll be signed. And what I would like you to do, if you'd be so good is to scan it and just send it back, so I have an e-copy.
No problem at all.
And I'll keep the paper copies. I'll just send you back with the Mylar.
Okay, that sounds great.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you. You have a great evening.
All right, thank you so much. Okay. Thank you there. And for the record, that was not a public hearing, that was just administrative. All right.
All right, I will open up item 2.1, the public hearing for the continuance of the public hearing for the modification of site plan for Meter Crossing it doesn't say here, what building is it for? Can you help me out, Bob?
R3A.
Building R3A. Thank you. Bob, can you introduce yourself for the record and your team for tonight?
Yes, Bob DePietri, Capital Group Properties. I'm here with Jim Vaza from Capital Group Properties and John Cusick from Bowler Engineering.
Thank you. Bill, do you want to give us a brief on what has occurred and then we'll turn it over to the applicant.
Well, we have been working with the applicant offline quite a bit before this one came before the board. So most of the adjustments that were made involve the play areas and the location of the play areas, which were all changed according to input from the review team. This came before the board, I think in April. And there was some good input that the board had. You could see on the copy you have in front of you, there's clouded changes, which were based on planning board input. And some from, I think, from the town engineer. And I think that's pretty much it. It was
Okay.
yeah, so I'm gonna bring out a larger copy too here. I'll put out here for Bob, but I can. Do you want me to pull up the copy of the plan on?
If capital, if you, so who's presenting tonight?
John Cusick.
Hi, John. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, all. I can share online and kind of run through the high level changes that Bill had mentioned if easier.
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
You should be able to share now, John.
All right. Can you all see the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I think Bill did a good job of just doing the backdrop. It was, I think we were before you a couple months ago back in April. And prior to that, we had spent a lot of time with staff just kind of going through the changes that were done heading into that hearing that we presented. And coming out of that hearing, I think there were just a couple of questions by the board and by Wayne and his team that we've incorporated into the plan. So I'm going to just review what those changes are at a high level, and then I'll get into any more detail if you all like. So what I'm sharing right now, and I'll go back and forth, but this is the prior plan that I've got up on screen. The first comment that the board had was relative to the ADA stalls. Just wanted to make sure that those were shown in the proper spot, because once the building got occupied over here, they were relocated in the spot that made the most sense. So this is the plan that has been submitted and updated to show the correct location. So they're located here, not here. The second item was that there was a lot of discussion, if you recall, relative to the this parking field. And again, this parking field creates or primarily serves this building. Again, the storefronts are on this side over here. Mainly the gym is the high user there. But regardless, we had discussed that folks would come in here. If they could turn around at this spot here, then leave on the top and on the bottom. And I think the board and Wayne had commented that, you know, that they like the fact that cars don't drive through here. It'd be a little chaotic. However, they wanted to make sure that it was accessible for pedestrians. If somebody came through, you know, realizing they want to walk in this direction, but if somebody wanted to come this way, they could. So the change that we made there was we just relocated those turnaround areas. So if cars come in, they turn around here and can pull in and pull out. We did the exact same thing on either side. It's mirrored, but you'll notice we pulled that back 5 feet or so from the curb. So a car can't drive through there, but if somebody happened to park here and wanted to walk to the sidewalk over here, they're able to do that. So that was reflected on the plan. Another comment that we had was the stop bar was shown a little too close to the crosswalk. There should be a 4-foot gap there. So that was corrected on the plan here. And then finally, the last item that came up, which was just really just a lot of coordination between, just to make sure that the civil plans aligned with the architectural plans, mainly with the doors into the building. and from the building to the play areas. So what's shown on this plan reflects the architectural plans that the tenant has worked on. So entry through the building from the public is from this door right here. That's the public entry. And if you recall, it's opposite the drop-off area over here that we presented at the last hearing. Once inside the building, again, not public at that point. Once inside the building, the teachers and the kids, they have essentially three points out of the building. One located here. And this is all connected to a walk. So one is here, and this two, excuse me, two. One is located here, and one is located here. So it's three total. One public, and two are inside. So once you get to that walk from either this door or that door, you can enter one of the 7 play areas through this walkway. So you've got a couple doors coming through here for 1 and 2. If you come down this way, you've got I call it a door, excuse me, it's a gate access here, for 3, access here for 4, 5, 6, and 7. So every play area has its own gated access to get to it from the walk. And we had talked about emergency egress points, which are required from code. So there's really 2 locations. We have one here, which again, that's really out. You can't come in from the street and get into the play area for obvious reasons, but that's an emergency exit gate located at that area. And then similarly up in this area here. So those have been coordinated with the architect and the tenant just to make sure they're shown in the proper location. So those were the highlights. Were very, very kind of minor changes, but we did want to clarify them. You'll note this plan's a little busier than the plan we presented to you last time. The reason for that is we wanted to add the construction level detail essentially associated with this. So we provided the site plan, grading plan, and utility plan within your package that just has the level of detail that would be needed on the final set of plans. But those items that I went through, those are really just the changes, even though it looks a little bit busier. You also asked us to confirm that the lighting would not change as part of this, and that is confirmed. We're not relocating any of the lights, located here, or here. Those don't need to move as part of these as part of this work. So with that, I'm happy to go into any further detail you like, but that is the high level overview. It's what's transpired since we were last before the board in April.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Wayne, may I turn it to you to provide where you're at with your engineer peer review?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I don't have any further comments relative to what the applicant presented. They did address all the comments that we had, and I believe that John did a good job summarizing what myself and the board had concerns with last time. I don't have any further comments on that actual plan. I do have 3 follow-up questions, if maybe the applicant can just either commit to it and explain. Because of the increased amount of pavement markings that are being proposed on that back drive, it would be just good to have on the record that the proponent is committing to regularly yearly maintenance of the pavement markings as they do with the rest of their site. Obviously, Bob, we know you're gonna do that, but I think it'd be good for the board to just hear that.
Yep.
And especially with those raised islands, and they have some special markings and so forth that need to be taken care of. Thank you. John, I have 2 questions for you. Just, I looked at the plan and maybe there was a detail there that I missed, but I just want to make sure I understand. Can you just explain, around the perimeter of the play area fencing, there's a small retaining wall of barrier. And I'm trying to just understand, are those concrete barriers and a small retaining wall? Is it a combination of the both? Could you just kind of explain to the board what that is gonna be in addition to the fence that surrounds the play areas?
Yeah, absolutely, Wayne. So you are correct. There is a small wall, and the wall is a retaining wall. It's not a wall for traffic barrier purposes. So you can see the darker area here coming down to here. So that's needed from a grading standpoint. There is a full fence. You can see the X's. There's a full fence that locks in the play area. The wall is just for grading. And then you'll see these rectangular figures here. Those are concrete barriers that we wanted to surround the play area with, on the off chance somebody was, driving through here and just didn't pay attention. Based on the sensitivity of a child play area, we wanted to make sure that we had vehicular protection, because again, that retaining wall is for grades. It's not designed to hold back a vehicle, but that's what those are for.
That's great. I endorse that. I think that's a great addition. So that's fine. Just one more question. And I just want to make sure I understand. It appears that the previously proposed catch basins within that area that were on the pavement have been converted into some type of a under drain or a sub drain system underneath the play area, whatever that surface is of the proposed play area. Can you just kind of explain that a little bit and just make sure that the board knows what they're gonna see if they go out there afterwards to try to understand it?
Yep, that is correct. So again, if you remember way back, this whole thing was a parking lot, up to this point here. So we had a ridge line in the parking lot, and things drained in this direction to a catch basin that's located right here. And that catch basin connected into the main drainage system that we have. So obviously, if this being a play area, A, the water can't get to that catch basin, and B, you wouldn't want a catch basin right in the middle of the play area. So essentially that catch basin is really buried and put a cover on it, and that's underneath the play area structure. So from the ground, you won't see it. It's, short of removing everything, which really doesn't need to be removed. We're just putting a cap on it and not letting water come in from the top. So that said, the water that came in this direction, since it's now being blocked, will flow down into this direction and hit the catch basin that's located here. That all goes to the same drainage area. So instead of coming into this basin, it comes down to a basin down a little bit lower, but will still go to the same drainage system and going to the same area that was previously designed. So we have not changed the drainage patterns. If anything, as we kind of talked about last time, this actually improves it, since this is a pervious structure. So anything that hits here will go into the ground as opposed to pavement.
That's great, John. And just, you do have a sub drain that's corrected. How far below the playground surface is that roughly? I know it may vary slightly, but just roughly.
No, absolutely. Sorry, you asked it the first time and I didn't answer you. So since the grading now again comes down, you can see these little flow arrows. So we're grading down this way and down this way, and it's very flat. It is pervious, but in the off chance something freezes, you have a major storm or something along those lines, we wanted to make sure that this area didn't flood out. So as water gets into the ground, we essentially have a subdrain along that ridge of where the pipe is. You can't see it because it's pretty much right above this pipe here. It's essentially a 6-inch perforated under drain. So it's a couple of feet below grade. It's a pipe with some holes in it and crushed stone. And then we had a detail on the 5th sheet that showed that. So again, that will just, in any overflow condition, that would prevent anything from flooding up into this area.
Excellent, John. Thank you for this explanation. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Bill Nemser,
Yes.
do we have any other comments relevant for this from either fire or police or anyone else for this discussion?
No, they were all addressed in the pre-application meetings, so fire has looked at with both chiefs. No comments and nothing else.
Okay, I have, John, I have a question. The concrete barriers around the perimeter of the play area. Or do we have a spec on that that's being submitted? I just want to be able to know what we're receiving here, both from a visual standpoint and also an engineered standpoint.
We don't have a spec that was submitted, but I'd envision these are drawn to be like the concrete Jersey barrier that you would see at a, at the, along a roadway, just to make sure they were traffic rated and there, what you might be able to do if it made sense, you might be able to replace those. Sometimes they have those concrete planters that you can put in that area. So I think there's any number of items you could do, but it's got to be a heavy piece of concrete that's not movable. And that's really what that needs to be.
So what I would prefer not to see is a Jersey barrier, of course. I would prefer to see something that is more visually integrated into the sort of design element of the whole thing. I don't think a Jersey barrier, and I'm not saying, John, that you suggested Jersey barriers, but just so you get my feedback, I don't think you guys want Jersey barriers as a look either. So that's why I was asking about the sort of design and engineering spec on this. Wayne, do you need an engineering spec on that, or are you okay with the discussion thus far?
If it's a Jersey barrier, no, I don't need one. It's industry standard, Chris, but you bring up a good point. I agree with John and his team that they seem like they've placed them strategically so that a car can't get between the gaps, but visually, you're not wrong. It's not gonna look the best. I guess what I may suggest that maybe the applicant consider, actually, this isn't gonna be any better, but maybe just making a row of areas. This is a very sensitive subject. I've done a little bit of playground work, right? And you have to actually you have to use some type of industry standard device that will block a vehicle. And the only two things that I've seen that work are barriers or bollards, all right? The bollards are not a traditional 6-inch bollard that you put in the ground with a 8-inch concrete sleeve. It's much more intense, the bollard. It has a foundation with rebar and they have to be anchored together. It's very very detailed, very costly to put in. They may be a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, but they're a lot more expensive to put in. So I think that John has chosen the barrier probably in essence of, being reasonable for the application. But to your point, Chris, I don't disagree with you. It isn't the most sightly thing to see. I don't know if there's another option. It's certainly you could ask the applicant to explore something else if that's something the board wanted to do, but I'm not aware of another option.
I would, and I understand that, the need for a designed and approved, federally approved, essentially, industry standard barrier. I would like to put thought towards this to see if we could have something doesn't present as a Jersey barrier. I think that if I boil my comment down to this, I would like it to not present as a Jersey barrier. It can be a Jersey barrier as long as it's masquerading as something else.
We'll look at that.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's gotta be something out there. We'll take a look.
And I've seen stuff that are kind of covers.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
there may be, one option, either keep them separated, like you say, Chris, put a cover, or maybe keep it contiguous and have the entire thing a barrier and then pin them together, and then maybe they could be painted or something so that they don't look so visually unappealing.
In the wake of COVID, and outdoor dining, I've seen a lot of really creative solutions for how to make them look less obtrusively gray boxes, So I think that there's probably a solution out there.
And we'll present some options, on that and come up with something.
What we could do, Mr. Chair, if it's the board's pleasure for something like that, is make a condition of approval that Well, if the board wants to, they could look at it, we could bring it back to the board, but if they were
We
comfortable.
could condition it, we could figure out how to
Yeah,
condition it, is what you're
and
saying.
town staff could, we could either approve it or we could bring it back to the board.
Let's,
Some future date.
sure, let's go to other comments from the board. Jim, any other comments or thoughts first?
Well, actually, come more than another comment. Mr. DePietri, thank you very much for your outlining the play area with the yellow tape. I found that to be visually a lot easier to look at and get an idea of what it actually entails. So thank you very much for doing that.
Anything
Thank
else?
you, Chris.
Okay. Any other comments from the board? And Annette, I believe you're a voting member tonight, so you can comment as an alternate, but I also want to remind you, you're a voting member tonight as well. Any thoughts?
My only question was that I know that play, we'll stop talking about Jersey barriers, I promise, but play area 1 and 2. Do not seem to have, they have the fence. And they have it seems like the retaining wall is not down there at that end.
I think, this is not part allowed, and I believe, John, can you just explain the traffic pattern on that north side?
Yeah, can you just talk about that whole center area? Again,
Absolutely. So that area is a little bit different. Again, we don't have the grade change in here that we did. You know, this originally was supposed to be kind of an alleyway. But when this was added in here, we have a very small area where again, anything can kind of be wheeled out or wheeled in from these drop-off areas if needed. But again, you've got a curbed area that comes in. We've got another one of those barriers right here. I think it was discussed from the board last meeting. You wanted to make sure that was a permanent barrier. So we say permanent concrete barrier because we don't want people driving in here for that very reason. Since these aren't right up against a drive aisle of parking spaces like this one is, we didn't think it was needed to have that barrier all the way across it. We just put it essentially right where cars would be driving, just to prevent them from driving there. All along here is a raised curb, and you've got essentially a 10-foot gap from that area from the building. Actually, probably 12-foot gap, excuse me.
yes, thank you. Sorry, when I was looking at it, I didn't see that new barrier that's added. I think that's great.
Yeah, it's a little, again, I apologize with the detailed drawings. There's a lot of info. in
No,
this.
I mean, it's all there. No.
Bill?
Yes.
Crenshaw, any?
No questions, just general comments that I'd be fine if it ended up being contingent on the approval of the barrier designed by the
Any comments?
No.
I think I'm good too. Can you see who we have online tonight, Bill?
It looks like that's it.
Is that it? Oh, okay, I'll open up the public comment, and I don't think we have anyone online.
Can you double check that?
Okay, I'll take public comments here.
Nobody else online?
That includes you too, Bob. You're a public member of the public. Yes, Trish.
I just have a sort of question, comment, Chairman, which is that a number of the other buildings on this site have been created with lights that are not conforming to the operations manual. And I'm wondering if the level of detail on the plans that you're looking at indicate lighting, and one of the specific violations that I'm thinking about is related to after-hours security lighting. Being to know them to be downward facing, and there are other buildings where it's not.
Thank you, Trish. John, are you familiar with our previous discussions about the security lighting on the building needing to be downspouted? In accordance with I believe Bill Nemser, the lighting plan inside of the O&M plan for the site?
That's right.
If I got that correct, I think I got that.
Yeah, the O and M plan has a corresponding map that it demonstrates. You know, where the lighting is, what
Yeah.
times and so on, but it's all supposed to be downwards.
Would it be okay if you brought that up? If you have it
Yeah.
available? John, are you,
We can.
or Bob, is your team familiar with this, for this building?
Oh,
Yeah.
Jim Boz is on. He's the one as well, right? Yeah.
Just someone from the applicant group, I'm asking if you're familiar with the need for the security lighting to be downspouted.
Yeah, the lighting on here is gonna conform with that. Okay.
Do you want me to pull up the map?
As long as Capital Group understands what exactly we're speaking of, I don't need to see it.
Yep.
And
As far as you know, Bob and Jim, is all the lighting now, I mean, we've corresponded back and forth. It's understood, it's to be down.
Exactly, yes.
And all of it
Yeah.
as far as, is it all downcast now, Jim? It was.
I believe that there have been no complaints that I have heard.
I mean, I gotta, you know, I don't wanna say 100%.
Right.
I can check with property management. I know we've been making some changes over there and there's still more changes to be
Okay.
made. That it will. You know, there's one critical piece of equipment we're waiting to come in, a controller,
Okay.
and then, but it will all conform. It all still.
So just for everybody's information, I spoke to the new property manager, Max Garcia.
Yeah.
Because there's changeover in the property manager. And the outstanding or the items I asked them to check on that. Understand that he's newer in there. There was the overnight now. This was just to ensure that the overnight security lighting we wanted to make sure it's in compliance with the O and M. Particularly as it relates to lights that are not downward facing, if there are, okay, that's clear. There was a report of exterior lights on R7 remaining on all night. I don't know if that has been, I didn't hear back from Max on that. If that's been addressed, so if you can please check on that.
Bill, was that a recent one or was that the one from the fall?
It was from the fall, but it was followed up. I followed it up I still had this outstanding in my most recent email, which
I
was,
will check on that. I thought they made the adjustment they need.
yeah, that'd be
I'll
great.
check- I'll check on
If
that.
you could just confirm that with us so I can answer, I would appreciate
Yeah.
that. And those were the lighting issues that we have.
Okay,
And then any new tenants, I think it would be really helpful and I'll be happy to do it and help any way I can. But when they do come in, even like the new childcare and stuff like that, we'll be happy to get them a copy of the O and M manual or something if they need it or where it's online. I don't really.
it's part of, we make it. part of
Yeah, I know.
this anyways.
Right. But just so it's, when there's changes over or a shift, somebody doesn't get it. But that's what I'm trying to do with that.
yeah,
Right.
so we're straying a little bit outside this, but I'm just gonna make
Understood.
another comment on this. As I understand it, there's still some noise complaints from Market Basket. So let's make sure that we follow up heavy on trying to see what we can resolve, but I believe we were working directly with Market Basket on that.
No,
Or did I
well,
misunderstand?
the board is not.
The board is not.
Right,
But
yeah.
OMS is working. with
Yes,
Market
it's been, we have, as you know, we have a complaint form now.
Yeah.
And it has been routed to the building commissioner as a zoning enforcement officer. He will contact Market Basket and then evaluate the situation. And we've had you've all been out there, I think, and apparently it's supposed to be resolved, but I'm hearing reports it's not, so.
Okay, let's catch up offline
Yes,
about that, me and you.
Bill, are we getting CC'd when those get filed, so we can track it too with them, because
I'll be happy to. We just started it, like
Yeah,
2 weeks ago. This is the
Haven't
first one.
seen
Yeah.
anything.
Do you want me to get you a copy of that? Okay, so any,
To know about, it, so we can stay on top of it too.
oh, that's, okay, great. I will,
Appreciate that.
yeah, that's just so for your information. We're just trying to, we just have too many things going on, so it's gonna be in a form. And then we can make sure, yeah, we can,
Let's just do a full status check on. I'd like just to be involved with the full status check on all
Yeah.
items.
yeah,
So let's catch up later this week, Bill.
yes.
That's okay with you? Any other public comments? Trish? Yes, Bob, yes.
John, I just have a question. Have any thought been given to some?
Sorry, the public comments need to be to the board, and then we will go to the applicant, okay?
Okay.
Yes. Sorry, so Bob is a member, he recused himself, but he's allowed to make public comments. So that's what's occurring right now.
It's really a question, and I'm just wondering if any thought has been given to some sort of covering for the outside play area. And, you know, it just seems if there are gonna be children there all day outside, we may want to have some sort of cover. And depending on what it is, it may need to be something that's designed to be incorporated like into the structure.
It's a good question, Bob. Bob and John, let's widen that question. So there will be play equipment.
Yes.
We assume this is 2023 and not 1980. There might be shade equipment and things of that nature and may need some footings and some structural elements and designs. Do you anticipate needing to come back to the board for any of those elements? Or what's the sort of status on all that?
So that is, the tenant themselves will be constructing the interior of the play area. And, you know, there is a proposed plan, a layout of it. I think we looked at it last time, and John can pull it up if you'd like. It sort of shows the elements within there, and some of it is, you know, the turf, the synthetic turf that's in there. I think there's some other areas, you know, where I'm gonna use sand, but I don't think it's sand, you know, areas like that as well. So this, I think, what, Jim, 7 different play areas? And each one
Yeah,
of
John,
them-
John, could you pull up on that email? It's daycare exterior playground 1. Got 2, again, these are proposed. Okay, here we go. This is not etched in stone. This is from the tenant, some ideas. I don't know what these actually are. They're in his other, this will be the 6th facility in the state of Massachusetts, and they got hundreds around the country. So they're pretty uniform and kid friendly, but they're sand pits maybe, and some that looks like a little rope thing you see at a playground, like a spider thing. Yeah, just simple things, and they're age appropriate. You have babies until elementary school children, so they do vary in the age group.
Are any of these elements gonna need considered a structure? And be under the sort of purview of the zoning here?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I would defer to the building commissioner on that. I mean, this is a, you know, this is a
Yeah.
private business. This is not a public playground. Whatever they do, as long as it complies with building regulations.
Okay.
I think it should be, I don't think it's the board's, shouldn't be the board's concern.
Okay.
From my perspective.
And I think the comment I received from Bob was, you know, as a public comment, is that it would be helpful for shade to consider. This is the west side of the building. But maybe that's just the conversation between the Capital Group and the tenant. I'm not sure the planning board has purview over the construction of shade, but I would say that that's a public comment has been made and heard.
Thank you.
Did I get that correct, Bill?
Yeah, I think that when the building commissioner inspects out there, if there's anything he feels rise to the level of requiring an amendment or at least a determination, send it to the board. It's possible, like any of these, you know, that there could be some changes down the line.
Sure. And I'll just reiterate that the same public comment, you know, if I was sending my kids here, maybe the tenant's not here, of course, but it's the west side of the building. I know where sun sets and I know the hot days, the hot times of the day, so shade would be helpful. If they wanted my money for my 2-year-old.
I mean, the ones we went around and saw, which I mean, this is a big company that's doing this, they're very, very nice.
Yeah.
We looked
I'm
at
sure.
Braintree, I think Quincy, they're doing another one in Medway right now. They
Yeah,
do
they
it.
have
really
Norwood, Canton, there's a few of them.
There you go.
And Bob, if I could, I think for maybe one of the previous discussions, there may have been in working group session or whatever with staff, but I think these are like sporadic, just for the boards, like, there's like a learning session inside, and then they have breaks and they go outside, and then they go back in and they go, so it's not like someone's out there for like a few hours. That was my understanding anyhow.
That is accurate. It's in it. It is weather dictated. Rainy days not out, or if it's a scorching 90-degree day, they'll probably sneak out in the morning. They spend more time indoors.
All right, I think I covered it, Bill. I don't believe we only have one item that I'm considering conditioning.
Well, let's see, I have, we were gonna condition, I don't know if we need to, because we already discussed it, but about the pavement marking maintaining, and it's pretty much immaculate, but if you want to put that in, that was one. You asked about the, sorry, wrong project.
Just to clear, I mean, the pavement markings being maintained are already in
Yeah.
the thing, so I
already
feel
in
like if they're now part of the new plan, I'm not concerned with adding that specifically
Right,
myself, especially since they're called out in the back as being heavy duty.
yeah, and then however you want to talk about with a barrier.
Yeah.
And then the one standing, condition I always, request is that we keep our nice little master plan. We get the, update, that's really handy.
The sole condition would be to update the master plan.
Yeah, just the one pager that John maintains, I think, or Nathan, and it keeps track of our, square footage and the distribution of it, and in this case, I think it's lower than was allotted, so we wanna, make note of it.
And so are you requesting that the condition be just in simply the words an update to the master plan, or can you just tell me
Yeah,
what specifically?
yeah, just update the master plan to reflect this approval.
To reflect.
Just, yeah, we've been doing it every approval rather than, I've got a gazillion amendments.
Right.
And it's just, it's not practical.
Okay.
So we've got one nice master plan, which just maintains the numbers and basically everybody like, you guys like it.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
it's great.
and that's all.
Yeah,
I mean,
no problem.
and then figure out how we want to do about the barriers.
Yep, all right, I'll make a motion to approve the site plan modification.
Can I run through this before you do? What you're gonna, there's a couple of approvals with this, do you mind?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
What the board wants to do with anytime we work in, this project. We want to find that the proposed, site plan or special permit, in this case, we're doing both amendment, remains consistent with a conceptual plan. That was the town meeting, okay, so we just want to get that in the record. The second thing would be, so we don't go through all the findings again, that the criteria remains consistent with the special permit originally issued for the project, so we're just addressing that. And then the last one would be the status of the site plan amendment, if they want to approve as depicted or whatever. So we're just basically doing it by the book. But without.
Okay, so the first one is consistency with the conceptual plan approved at town meeting. The second is the criteria remains consistent with the special permit.
Yes.
And the third is that, so that's the second approval. And the third is that the modifications are in accordance with section 9.3 and 10.4 of the zoning bylaws.
I just say consistent with the zoning bylaws, because, yeah, in this case, we have a special section for MBOD. Right. So what you really do two findings, finding that it's consistent with the conceptual plan, it remains consistent with the approved special permit for the project, and then do your whatever you want to approve.
Okay, and then, can I make that as one motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have faith in me?
Yeah, I say, well, it's one motion, yeah. Okay, and then I'll just write up finding, approval.
Okay, I'll make a motion that the modification for the site plan is consistent with the conceptual plan approved at town meeting. That's the first The second is that the motion includes that the criteria remains consistent with the special permit. And thirdly, that the modifications are consistent with the zoning bylaws. And I'm conditioning this. So, and then I have two conditions. One is that the applicant and town staff update the master plan. Or I guess would it be the applicant?
Yeah.
The applicant updates the master plan to reflect the modifications described in this application and the public hearing. And that's the first condition. The second condition is that the concrete barriers along the perimeter of the playground areas are approved by town staff, both for engineering and for aesthetics. Do I have a second?
You have a second.
Thank you, Jim. Any further discussion? All in favor by hand? And that is you too. Okay, that's 5-0, Bill.
Okay,
In
and
favor.
that voting in place of Bob.
Yes. So it's 5-0 in favor of the motion.
Thank you.
That's it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you all.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you, John. Thank you, James. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, would you mind making a motion?
I would. I wasn't ready for this. I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing on the modification of the site plan for Maynard Crossing childcare modification.
I'll second that. All in favor to close the hearing? 5-0 to close the hearing.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
So we have minutes? We do.
The first ones are the ones you wanted me to beef up a little bit from April 11th
Oh,
on
yeah.
specifically on my planner update. You felt it was a bit abridged. So I let it rip. So if that was
I love it.
like a Dylan song, isn't it?
Oh, my God. That's. Yes, exactly.
So there's two sets of minutes.
That's correct.
So you're referring to the April.
April 11th. Right, they came before the board and that was last month. You asked me to
Okay.
tweak it.
All right, I will make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from April 11th, 2023.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, that's 5-0 in favor of the meeting minutes for April 11th. I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes. Well, actually, I do want to make one modification.
Yeah, I got one thing.
What?
I found one too.
On the May 9th minutes, the public hearing on the first page, I don't think we can vote 6.
No, it's 5-0. You're right. Yeah, it's type. I got that. Yeah, good catch.
Was that your change to Bill?
My glasses, my new glasses.
Okay. But you said you had a correction.
No, that was it.
On page, I guess it's page 2.
Yeah, we need page numbers, by the way. We need page numbers.
Oh, page numbers didn't come. Okay, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, oh geez, neither of them. Okay. Yeah, I'll make sure there's page numbers on the footer. I had a suggestion based on your conversation about this,
Okay, go ahead.
under where it talks about, Mr. Arsenal replied that the planning board uses the zoning bylaws as their guiding document for site plan review and special permits. I would reword the following sentence to read, and the zoning bylaws do not address code compliance. And then that I concur. Does that make it a little?
So the nature of my comment was that this, and I'm writing this up here.
like you're trying to take down capitalism. You gotta get the words right. Am I right?
And the nature of my comment was that the planning board does not have purview over modifying code and code compliance.
That's correct.
That was the nature of my comment, not that we don't concern ourselves with code.
No, I understand that, I understand that.
So as long as we're changing it within that frame.
Yeah.
That, you know,
But the zoning bylaws do not address code compliance.
something like that's fine, because the question was about, can we change code compliance? And the answer, no, it's not our purview to change code compliance.
Right.
Our purview is to maintain the zoning bylaws.
That's exactly
Yeah,
correct.
so, okay.
So with those two amendments, I would.
All right, now I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from May 9th, 2023, as amended. All second that. All in favor? 5-0. Good. All right, Bill, planning, town planner update?
Well, right now we have, in OMS, as you probably know, we've not replaced Megan. So we are now running with kind of very limited crew. It's Julia, myself and our building commissioner and the health agent where we can use them. So we're unable to get some of the proactive stuff that we've been trying to do. So we're hoping that the MAPC assistance with the Powder Mill Corridor, which is, all these are gonna be starting July 1. So I'm really hoping that we can lean on them to help us more than I had anticipated, at least until we get some assistance in there. But the good stuff is that we did, we've submitted a grant about the Main Street Road diet, which I think we discussed all that widening. The grant is for a plan to widen the streets, the sidewalks on Main Street. So it'd be much nicer for pedestrians in that little, strip in between McDonald's and the Triangle. We have, I've written to town council about amending the development agreement for Mill and Main. To see how we could do that, and then I'm anticipating that this board will go ahead and we can, discuss whether we would rather just eliminate the whole thing or amend it. But I asked town council today to send us how, step by step, how to do that.
And for the board's knowledge, did the planning board sign that
No,
DA?
no,
Okay,
no. That one typically,
that was a select board. only?
select board, right. But I believe that the select board would be grateful for any planning board on this. Matter of fact,
Do we know what's allowed by right without that development agreement?
yeah. And basically the development agreement. Right now, as long as you develop within the existing structures. That's the key for by right. I'm also trying to use that for MBTA communities as an additional. But right now you could come in and let's assume the water is okay. All right, we had water and infrastructure. You could come in and develop multifamily in there for up to 50% of the entire campus in the existing buildings. But
By right.
by right.
Okay.
That's right, which would mean site plan for us. If you went and we had a proposal for a new structure, that's when everything changes. So a new structure would require a special permit. So what you guys saw the memo that I sent last week, my hope would be that we can, over the next year, generate enough interest with the Mill and Main ownership, who called me right away after that memo, the ownership did. And maybe get a pilot project, a small pilot project with one of the buildings that would boost, downtown activity for our businesses. It would provide another way that another lifestyle for our residents that want to live in a walkable and a community, and using the existing infrastructure is consistent with like every plan we have, whether it's a master plan, community development principles, all these. So it's only good stuff. I think the question is, there's two parts to this. We have to get this MBTA thing through by next year to make sure we qualify for MassWorks to get the additional funding for the water supply. And there's no guarantee we get that, but without being consistent with it, we know we don't. And then the other thing.
Well, we don't need Mill and Main to do that, right? We can
No,
just do
no,
that
we
with
don't.
water.
No, we don't need Mill and Main to do that. No, you're right. But, and we've also accounted for Mill and Main for part of the water, remember, that's part of DPW's projections, but the difference is residential uses is a different demand than commercial. But Bill, what I'm thinking, the reason I mentioned the MBTA communities is we use it. If we could use that against, it gives us 500,000 square feet divided by, yeah, that's like 28, that'd be like 20 acres worth potentially of, MBTA compliance.
Right, but I mean, we
Right.
can just do Stratus tomorrow and be done with it, and we're good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If everything goes right. If everything goes right, I don't think I agree, and I mean, that's my plan. But I would feel like a ding ding if I didn't have a backup plan, or something to try to make sure we stay in. Good
No, it's
grace.
just, Mill and Main always says. More discussion than other locations, so. Something
It-
at Mill
it
and Main
does,
could
but
take
we-
longer, can be more complex.
You're absolutely right, absolutely can. But, I don't know that our strategy in the past has proven to be in the towns, benefit the town. And I think we still have,
Yeah, but I mean, we're talking about the MBTA thing. The quickest way for the MBTA thing to be met,
we are,
stay away from Mill and Main if you can.
we are going full speed ahead on that.
I always looked at the Mill and
Full speed
Main
ahead.
being the nuclear option here.
Right.
If,
I don't think it's quite a nuclear, but yeah,
Well,
it's
yeah.
a bigger.
yeah, but it's only applicable if all other options fail for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't envision them failing, but I agree with Bill Nemser that we don't need to highlight that as part of the strategy, but it is the backup plan.
It's a case of emergency brake glass.
Yeah. Yeah, emergency brake, yeah.
So that's that. Anyway, so I'm doing the best I can to keep up with all that, but I'm really like, come on, MAPC, let's fire it up. Also, very sad news. Mr. Brown.
Can you elaborate since we're also recording?
We're gonna see you.
Stepping down.
Breathe a little bit, breathe.
He's got new friends on the oars and the ass, all these good groups. And this is gonna be your last meeting, I guess.
Oh, then it's the next month, right?
Yeah. So I'm I'm happy for you that you found something that you're so happy with and that you'll be so good at and do such good for the community, the region and the Commonwealth. But from a greedy standpoint, I'm sorry to see you go.
We're,
Can't you do both?
we're strategizing. We'll get Bob back in town governance at
Yeah.
some point.
Like sooner or later I'll get.
Wait
to make
until
them.
he really
Make him the assistant TA, yeah.
Ooh,
Oh, yeah, speaking of which,
are you my boss?
how's that going? Are we gonna find someone? Wasn't there someone?
There were two candidates and neither panned out.
Bum, bum, bum. All right.
This happens in town government, apparently.
Would you want to manage me?
I don't know who you're looking at, but I'm guessing we're all gonna say no.
Yeah. No, it's a good, it's for a person that wants to get into. Municipal government, has a little background in it, the right person, it's a dynamite job. I wouldn't, that job wouldn't be a good one for me. And that's why, you know, I like what I do, but for the right person, I mean, gee whiz, it's experiences, you know, town administrator, experience, you know, just keep an eye on OMS. A lot of, well, you know, a lot of little cool projects that the town's doing, you know, they're everything from the parking stuff to the, you know, the stuff that basically I'm doing now with the improvements downtown and things like that. It's a lot of cool stuff. But it's hard, it's a crazy market out there right now, you know, planners, they've got consultant planners now going around because there's such a shortage of planners, financial accountants. And apparently assistant town administrators that, yeah. So the answer is not, it's nothing to report, Ally.
Okay.
This isn't Bob's last meeting, is it?
Well, if
We
is
have,
it next week, they're gonna appoint,
are they?
yeah.
Okay, I didn't know this guy.
Has he retired? Has he resigned?
Have you?
Yeah, he sent me one of those, fill in the dates.
Oh, yeah.
Like-
Okay, oh, yeah. Good for you.
Yeah, fill in the date,
Bob, you're.
unless he's having second thoughts, of course. Peer pressure.
No second thought, but I'm not going far, and I'm still interested in polynomial.
Yeah, you promised me you'd help me on that, right?
Yeah, so, we'll still be in touch, but I will say now, I've been to, had a couple of board meetings and meetings with the Science and Policy Committee, and it's just been awesome. So, a lot of good things going on there too.
Good.
That's good. Well, we'll put together maybe a lunch and learn at one point in the next year or two. You know, for that, I'll bring all my planning geeks over from around the state. We can do something with that. That'd be very interesting. But thank you so much for all
Thanks,
you've
Bob.
done.
Yes, thank you for your services.
Oh, come on, thank you all, it's been a pleasure.
And that's that. And then the last item I have is tomorrow night, Chris. Myself, are you still on for tomorrow night? Or tomorrow
You
afternoon?
have to remind me what I'm scheduled for.
Firearm legislation, we're gonna draft.
Zoning bylaws for
Leslie.
firearm shops, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
so you guys schedule that after from 3:30 to 4:30, so
Yeah.
we'll do that.
Yep, so this is a working group. This is not a subcommittee, it's a working
No.
group, just to provide some zoning. It's a hole in the zoning. We don't have zoning around firearm shops, so. The general perspective is to zone it similar to a lot of other business establishments. And it's pretty, from my point of view, it's pretty simple.
Shouldn't be, it should be,
Who's on the group?
It's me, Bill Memser and Leslie thus far.
from ZBA.
And I wanted to keep it simple and small so that we could get to the boards kind of quickly to get feedback and open up the hearings and get a review on it. Because it doesn't seem that, this is just a use, we're regulating a use.
It's no different than a fast food restaurant.
Right.
You know, we're using the same set of rules.
So I didn't want to overcomplicate this process, just keep it simple. On another update, we met today with. We briefly met with the with Select, did I guess it right?
Yeah.
Who are the consultants and contractors for installing a solar panel canopy on the Maynard Public School campus just outside of the high school.
Yeah.
And this is for, this would be we made a determination that it was a major modification. So we just did a quick site walk. And I gave them a little more guidance on what the planning board purview is. And they should be coming in a few weeks.
2 weeks, right. Next week, I mean, the next meeting, we have a lot. We have an A&R, which was not much anything, but we have 115 coming back. With their new 115 Main Street with the request for underground garage, as you guys all know about that. There's a lot of smirking over there.
I'm just thinking Bob's really smart.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
Yeah, you planned this out 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Oh, you're smart.
Wait, when's our new alternate gonna get sworn in?
Our new alternate should be, if everything goes right, it should be on, Wednesday.
So
A
he
week,
should
a
be
week
here-
from,
So he should be
tomorrow.
here in 2 weeks.
oh, yeah, I'm expecting, yeah. Yeah, heck, yeah.
Yeah, and that will.
Yeah, oh, that's it.
No more resignations.
No, just.
The good- yeah.
Yeah.
If everything goes right, we have the alternate, will give us one advantage of 115 because he's, if you recall, he's stepping down from the Conservation Commission to work on this, with this, group. So he would be familiar with some of the, probably can answer some questions that we have. So
So plans for him to be the alternate
that's right.
and that gets.
And that's
going
going
to the big
full
table?
time, right?
And that's going full time.
And then what's the other thing on there?
A&R Select 115 Main.
No, there's something else. What was it?
I don't know.
A and R, 115.
And select.
Oh, right, yeah, yes, right, yeah. So.
Who's going first?
Yeah,
Can we do the A&R first?
Hmm?
Can we do the A&R first?
Yeah.
Okay.
and I'm gonna be coming, I've got a wing bang on the night before too with zoning board, so I'll be in good shape. With
And by good, you mean bad.
I've got a battle, yeah, I got my hands full with that group. They're a good group, and on Monday night is gonna be I got a full straight later, but we'll get to it.
This isn't the right words, but just for, I guess, disclosure to this board, I joined the tri-board meeting a few weeks ago and made some comments about the planning board perspective during the tri-board meeting. The discussion was about revenue generation in town and how to generate additional revenue in town.
I'm against it.
You're against generating revenue in town, yes. Hopefully.
That's that should help.
Well, thank you for that. Very
You're
thoughtful
welcome.
comment.
You're welcome.
But you can, it's recorded, so if you,
Yeah, it was a good one. Chris, I think did very well.
you're welcome to watch, but I'm not gonna reiterate all the comments I made tonight, but it was just about revenue generation.
That's how you did it with the hands and all.
Yes, exactly, just with the hands. All right, any other updates or comments?
No. That's it.
Well, thanks, Bob. Thanks again.
Can we let Bob close the meeting?
Oh, yeah.
Bob, would you mind doing the honors tonight and close the meeting?
Your last act.
No, this is a good thing. We'll keep it going. Let's see, I'll move that and close the meeting.
And I will second that.
All in favor by hand? 5-0 to close the meeting.
Thank you. Jim, can I bring this over for you? I got the.
Yeah, thanks.
What am I doing?
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.